Chapter 5. Before Dr. Folabi was invited to Banjul to serve as advisor to a summit of heads of state, he had previously been invited by the Foundation for Democratic Rule in Washington to give a keynote address to an annual conference. For his wife Pamela, the invitation by the foundation had been a godsend. It had brought her an opportunity to redeem herself. In over 6 years, she had not been to see her father, a widower who lived alone in Boston. Now she would get to see him at last. So, cancelling all her other engagements, she wrote on the back of the foundation's offer to pay for her husband's travel and paid for her own so she and he would visit her old man together. The old man was not in when they arrived. Pamela knew where he hid the key whenever he stepped out, so she got it and let herself in. Fabiola followed her with the luggage but did not stay. Stiff of body after a long flight from Nigeria, he went out to loosen up instead, only to stumble upon a scene he would swear to himself never to disclose to his wife. Alisama had roofed Boston with a cloudless infinity of horizon to horizon blue. Bostonians reveling in the good weather were out in thousands. Dr. Afolabi took them on. He plunged in their midst as if he were one of them, inhaling greedy breaths of the day's clean air as he walked. He observed everything he saw. America, he noticed, had more old people now than in his Harvard years as a student. Its citizens were living longer. In days gone, the old would have been staying with the young, as they still did in East Africa, in the care of kith and kin until they died. Now they lived alone in their own homes, empty of relatives or joined contemporaries in old people's homes. A department store emerged. Dr. Folabi headed for it. As soon as he stepped in, supply created demand. A shaving razor he did not need convinced him with just the power of his presence that he needed it. He took it, joined a queue to pay, and there ran into a snag. The woman ahead of him, not at all familiar, was not a problem in any way, but the scruffy old man ahead of her, vaguely familiar, definitely was. He had killed the queue. "I got baby here from Josh for Christmas," he was telling the girl at the cash register, pointing not at any baby, but at what like gadget strapped to his wrist. "Lives in Phoenix, Arizona. Josh does. Now watch. When I press baby here, the band you see around my wrist inflates and deflates to take blood pressure. Baby monitors blood pressure, you see." "Hey, that's cool," the girl said. She had already stopped working. Wow, her excitement, though fake, appeared real. This girl was that good. "So your device measures blood pressure, you're telling me?" she asked the old man. Ho, ho, ho. Baby does a lot more than that. She also displays the results on a screen here. The old man pointed at the face, flat, of his gadget. "But, silly old me, as I was having breakfast this morning, I accidentally dropped her in a pot of coffee. You would have thought it was the end of the baby. But no, look." He pressed baby somewhere. There was hissing, swelling, and tightening around his wrist. She still works, you see. Can you believe that? Hit me on the head right now, if I can. Baby has memory too. She remembers up to 31 previous measurements. The girl decided she had humored the old man long enough now. "You aren't buying anything from us today, are you?" she asked, peering at his empty shopping cart. "I'll buy stuff tomorrow." He went back to his Christmas gift from Josh. "So every month, baby reminds where I've been and compares that with where I am." "You didn't come to shop then. You came just to show me your blood pressure monitor? Well, I'm impressed." She sat up again. "Listen, go have a nice day for me out there in that gorgeous weather now. Okay? Sure. He sounded disappointed. I was already on my way out, anyway. Then he shuffled off. The girl turned on her next customer, the woman in front of Dr. Folabi. You didn't mind that, did you, ma'am? The woman shook her head. No, I did not. Bless your heart, ma'am, the girl said to the woman. Then she started totaling the woman's grocery to a rapid succession of blips from her checkout scanner. You saw that poor fellow? She tipped her head in the old man's direction. Bleep. We get people like him in here all time. Bleep. She was quick. They want to touch and be touched. Bleep. See and be seen. Bleep. Listen and be listened to. Bleep. No. Not to watch television at home alone all day. Bleep. It doesn't hurt to oblige every now and then, does it? No, miss, it doesn't. Bleep. That's what I think too, ma'am. Bleep. The girl had finished. Total comes to $396.54, ma'am. Will it be debit or credit, ma'am? It will be credit. The woman gave the girl a credit card. The girl swiped it through a machine, then gave it back with an invoice to be signed. Isn't it lovely outside, ma'am? She was looking out of the window. It is, sure, miss. The woman returned the invoice to her, signed. I wish I were out there. Oh, well, have a nice day, ma'am. You too, miss, said the woman, and then left. Dr. Afolabi's turn had come. Good morning, sir, said the girl to him. Will that be all, sir? She was looking at his razor. Yes, he said. You see, I only use one at a time. It was a foolish joke and it fell flat. He apologized. Sorry. No problem. Bleep. That will be $5.13, sir. He marshaled that whole sum in coins, paid her, then left. She had handled the old man with great tact, he thought. But what would that old fellow do next? Would he go to show baby to another chatty girl at the checkout counter? I would brag about baby to a friend over booze in a bar? Or would he simply go back home and watch TV? It was hard to say which it would be. Dr. Folabi then saw a toddler wobble away from the mother to go feed street pigeons. The child was biracial, half black, half white. The mother was classic blight, pure, unblended. The toddler got Dr. Folabi thinking. His children with Pamela would have had the toddler's fractions too, half black and half white. Perhaps they would also have had its sweetened complexion, amber, the color of honey. This all seemed far-fetched now. He wanted to have 2 children of his own. Pamela wanted to as well, but adopted. She thought Africa already had too many children. So why not take theirs from the pool that was already there? Why add yet more? Dr. Folabi did not move. She did not either. The result, unimpulsive. They did not have children of their own or adopted. An hour later, he joined his wife at her father's house. By then, the old man was back. He had just accepted as a gift from her the African face mask that was still snarling at him from his lap. Now he was showing her a blood pressure monitor that a friend of his had sent him as a Christmas present from Arizona. Never, here or away, swore Dr. Folabi, would he ever disclose to his wife the scene he had walked into at the department store. The lonely old man he had seen there was her father. The flight out of Washington back to Nigeria had on board a cranky passenger in the first class who was demanding to sit next to a friend of his in economy class. Only by persuading another person in economy class to trade seats with him did the crew finally silence him. As Pamela was exchanging seats with him, she assumed the crew would ask her husband to come along and sit with her. When that change in seating did not happen, she asked, why not? Fake smiles were the only answer she got. She and her husband ended up traveling in different cabins. Ted, said the cranky passenger as he was settling down in economy class, in a seat next to Dr. Afolabi. Ted Longway, he said, his voice deep, lingered on like the boom of a big drum. He held out a card. Dr. Afolabi took it. It said the man was the director of special projects at the Agency for Governance and Development in Africa. Pleased to meet you, Mr. Longway. Dr. Folabi said. My name is Afolabi. I teach at the University of Ibadan, Nigeria. You gave an excellent keynote address the other day, Dr. Folabi, said the cranky passenger. Sparks of earnestness were crossing his eyes, both crystal green like toy marbles, confirming the compliment was sincere. Your keynote address at the Foundation for Democratic Rule, it was brilliant. I'm glad you liked it, Mr. Longway, Dr. Folabi said. His voice had become warm. You were there, then, Mr. Longway? Yes, but back in the last row, as a mere spectator. I did not want to be obtrusive. Anyway, you are superb, Dr. Folabi. If you don't mind my adding this, I was more impressed by the points that the audience raised afterwards during the question and answer period. Dr. Afolabi felt the praise he had just heard turn into reproach. So what were these points, Mr. Longway? He asked. His voice was less warm. Remember the guy from Grassroots International? Short fellow, round of body and outspoken of manner. What was his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. You must mean the fire eater who kept accusing me of looking for answers where I shouldn't even look, Dr. Folabi said. Exactly. That's your man. Yes, I thought he was right on the point, Dr. Folabi. He too was unhappy with the present state. Wait, the present state of what? Africa. I don't understand. No problem. I'll spell it out to you. You see, Dr. Folabi, Africa, in its present state, has two new arrivals, corruption and impunity. The first is a crime and the second protects from punishment. The second is another crime. The first two words with kickbacks. That is Africa in its present state. Now, can it change? Tell me, can it? Well, let's ask the law of will. What? Unless there's a will to change, there will be no change. That is the law of will, Dr. Folabi. I was wondering whether you might be interested in an adventure that is being sponsored by AGDA. Oh, I'm sorry. Make that the Agency for Governance and Development in Africa. Its underlying idea is to mobilize our discontent with Africa and its present state into will to change it. The little meetings between us is not an accident then, is it, Mr. Longway? What's an accident, Dr. Folabi? All events are but consequences of events that precede them. Now, what is this I hear about you serving as an advisor to the next summit of African heads of states in Banjul, the Gambia? You're well informed, Mr. Longway, Dr. Folabi said. He had begun to see the green-eyed man in a different light. Yes, heads of state have invited me there to give them my views on Way Omega, he added. You know of Way Omega, no? Yes, I do. So, what are they, your views? They are that the summit should go with Way Omega. It will change our style of doing business. Just think, no more military coup or rigged elections, more civil wars or ethnic clashes. If adopted, what a breath of fresh air Way Omega would be. Dr. Folabi, don't confuse what you want to happen with what will. You know Way Omega won't fly, don't you? I see. Do you have an alternative that will fly? Yes, I do. Does it have a name? Yes, Path Alpha. It differs from Way Omega like day from night, you see. Whereas Way Omega is top-driven and lacks the will for its implementation, Path Omega is a bottom-led and has that will. Now, to come to the point, we would like you to guide 4 Path Alpha travelers from AGDA, is sending as observers to the very summit you'll be going to serve as an advisor. Mr. Longway, I'll be going to the summit to advise 50 heads of state there to participate in it, not to mentor 4 travelers from AGDA. They are only as to observe it. But there's a problem, Dr. Folabi. You could look both at what Way Omega is recommending for adoption and at what Path Alpha is proposing as an alternative. If you're open-minded, that is. Of course, I'm open-minded. Then, you'll accept our request. But let me be clear here. We are not asking you to defect from Way Omega or Path Alpha. You would be of no value to us if you did. Is that right? Yes. We need an entry point at the summit. We would lose it if you left Way Omega. I see. here's what I want you to do, Dr. Folabi. Go chew your card for a day or two over this document. This later showed Dr. Folabi a document titled Part Alpha. It has all the information you need to decide. If you decide to accept our request, call me and we'll take it from there. You know where to reach me. I gave you my card. Oh, one more thing. We will cover all attendant costs. All right. I'll let you rest. Have a pleasant flight. Dr. Afolabi. The boy grabbed Pamela's hand with both of his hands. He had never done that before. There had been something wrong. Madam, I think you best no go in room. That be yours. The boy said. No go inside? Madam, please I beg. Pamela resorted to broken English herself. But Isa, inside be bedroom of my, she said. Yes, but please no go in, madam. There be person you go no like. Person I no going like? She was intrigued. Who? A burglar? The youth let go of her arm so he could scratch his head. Did he have lice? No. He was only buying time. No, madam, he said finally. Not burglar. Then who is it? Aha. No, tell me now. I know. You forgot be I go coming home today and brought friend be yours to room be mine. So inside room be mine, now be Hausa friend. Be yours, you show room be mine this now. You're a Hausa boy, no? Isa shook his head vigorously to deny the charge he had just heard mentioned. He saw wrong what madam here saying. Now that me cannot even think it. Madam in room not be friend of mine. There be somebody else. You know go like, but not friend be mine. Hausa or no Hausa. Just drop all this gibberish for a while, okay? She left broken English and returned to normal English. Did I tell you never to let anyone into the house? Least of all into my bedroom. While Master and I were in America? Isago have no answer. Did I not? Again he gave no answer. Isa, I'm talking to you. Once more, the boy gave no response. Dr. Afolabi stepped in. Isa, when Madame asks you a question, she expects you to answer it. You've chosen not to, so have to deal with me. Whom did you let into her bedroom, Isa? Answer me, or I'll break this thing. He seized the boy roughly by an arm. Which is it going to be? An answer with a broken arm. His grip on the arm tightened. Isa hollered. Oh, master, you're hurting me. His eyes were shining with tears. I know let stranger to bedroom. Abiola loosened his grip. Then who did? A deep voice roared from somewhere. I did. Pamela and Abiola spun together to look at its source. It was a man who was stepping out of a bathroom in a display of skill and calm. He was zipping his fly with one hand and buttoning his shirt with the other. But this display did not cancel out the unease. It could not erase the scar on his face. The scar was scary. And who are you? Pamela demanded. She was already angry with him. He turned his back on her, deliberately in disdain, and to show the contempt she would not fail to notice, spoke to her husband instead, pointedly in Yoruba. Outraged, she walked up to him and reasserted herself. It's I who asks you a question, mister, not my husband. You ask who I am, he asked. I am me. The man then turned around to face her, showing her his scar. Horrified, she recoiled from him. Please go away, whoever you are, she told him. The man pressed his advantage. Abiola, better tell scared white woman you call wife, what brave fight I be. He said darkly, again in English, for her benefit. Re-enraged, she resummoned her courage. Mister, you're in my house. You'll show me respect and answer me directly when I ask you a question. So, once more, who are you? Before the man could answer, Dr. Folabi spoke to him in Yoruba. Pamela was shocked. Abiola, so you know him? Her question was both a query and an accusation. Honey, let me explain. Is that a yes or a no? Pamela's shock was slowly turning into anger at her husband. It's a yes, you see, Pamela. Femi is a cousin. He and I grew up together in Kaduna. So he's a friend, too. Dr. Folabi spoke to the man in English. What a surprise your visit is, Femi. Now, back to the business at hand. Who is in our bedroom? First, the man refused to answer the question. A moment later he answered it, but in Yoruba. He ended with a question of his own, still in Yoruba. To carry Pamela along, Dr. Afolabi replied in English. I see. Now let's skip the skin and go direct to the beef. Who have you installed in our bedroom? Femi? The man gestured at Pamela, meaning she had to leave the room before he answered. No, said Dr. Folabi family. She stays. Strange noises came out from the man from Kaduna. They were expressions of displeasure. Loud words in Yoruba followed. They spoke of scandal. Dr. Folabi just had to respond to them. Femi, are you serious? He asked. The man nodded. He was. Who told you I want a second wife? Dr. Folabi asked. Pamela is the only wife I want. To show it. He went and wrapped her in his hand. She wriggled away. Leave me alone, she told him. The man spoke again, in Yoruba. Again, Dr. Afolabi felt he had to respond. And how do you know that Pamela can't have children of her own? He asked him. A sharp answer shot out from the man from Kaduna like an arrow in hurried Yoruba. This time, Dr. Afolabi shouted his response. Femi, shut up. You can't talk to me like that. You're in my house. Two unsolicited observations, now in wailing leisurely Yoruba, followed. Dr. Afolabi's response was calmer. Pamela and I have no children, yes. But that's because we don't want them, not because she can't ever have them, he said. And who told you she hates children? Pamela had had enough. She stormed away at a run and disappeared, only to reappear with a broomstick in her hand, chasing a young girl she had found in her bed. The man from Kaduna saw the young girl. Nimbo Ho, he hollered. Nimbo was the girl's name. On hearing her name called, she changed course and started running towards the man who had called it. Femi Ho, she hollered back. Pamela followed the girl in hot pursuit until the man from Kaduna glowered at her. At that point, she stopped in her tracks and retreated. Then she turned to Dr. Folabi. Tell them to leave this house right now. Start with your cousin. The Yoruba man threw at her a defiant look. I'm not leaving, he told her. Yes, you are, Dr. Folabi said. Pamela is right. Femi, you are wrong to bring this girl here without clearing her with me first. After that answer, he expected the cousin to hit the roof. Instead, the wife hit it. Listen to yourself, Abiola, she said. Do you mean none of this would have been wrong if he had cleared with you first? I'm your wife, for goodness sake. Look, it's very easy. Start with your cousin. You must